Hey everyone, YouTube's been a little quiet with pushing my videos lately. A like or a comment would really help out. Thanks. Maggie and Alex have been married for 3 years, though it felt like a lifetime. The kind of comfort you get from an old hoodie. They had met at a mutual friend's wedding, bonded over inedible hors d'oeuvres, and a year later, they stood together cutting their wedding cake while a cheesy love song played in the background. Alex worked on the assembly line at the Ford plant, while Maggie spent her days processing invoices in a dull beige cubicle. Children were still in the distant future. They cherished their us time. There were career goals to chase, shows to binge watch, and leisurely breakfast hours to savor. As New Year's Eve approached, management decided against renting an extravagant venue for the party. Instead, it would be held in their office, which caused a bit of panic. But Maggie's work best friend Dana immediately volunteered to take charge of planning. A collective sigh of relief filled the air. Maggie became Dana's sidekick, searching Amazon for glittery garlands, disco cups, and anything that screamed corporate fun. Dana grumbled about everything looking tacky, but Maggie just laughed and clicked add to cart. One lunchtime, Dana stepped out to grab more party decorations. Maggie, running on barely 3 hours of sleep, chose caffeine over errands and shuffled to the break room. As she grabbed her cup, a smooth baritone voice greeted her from behind. "Afternoon!" She didn't need to look. It was Nick, the regional sales manager, who always spoke with that same tone. "Hey, Nick," Maggie replied. For months he hovered in that flirty zone, and though Maggie should have shut it down, she secretly enjoyed the attention. They exchanged thoughts about the previous day's snowstorm, which had turned the highway into a parking lot. Then Nick leaned closer. "So, what are you wearing to the party? I can't wait to see you in something short." Heat rushed to Maggie's face. She stirred her coffee as if it were molten lava. "Haven't decided yet," she replied. "Give it some thought," he said with a wink before grabbing his mug and walking away. She sat there for a while, wondering if she had just flirted or betrayed her husband. A few nights later, she found herself in a boutique holding a black dress that barely covered her thighs, plus sparkly tights to match. When Alex saw the outfit, his expression turned wary, like a dad seeing his daughter off to prom. "That's pretty bold, babe." Maggie kissed his cheek, promised to behave, and left the store with her heart pounding. The office party was filled with the smell of stale copier toner and champagne. Maggie scanned the crowd until she spotted Nick. His eyes lingered on her dress, and a small, satisfied smile tugged at his lips. Throughout the evening, he stayed across the room, just enough to keep her nerves on edge. She tried to calm them with more champagne. Finally, Nick approached. "May I have this dance?" he asked. Maggie nodded a little too quickly. His cologne enveloped her as they moved to the dance floor. When the last song played, he leaned in, his breath warm on her ear. "After party at my place. Small group. You in?" "Who small?" Maggie asked, her throat dry. "Evan and Katie," he said with a grin. Her mind tried to protest, but the wine drowned out the logic. Dana overheard and begged Maggie to call it night, but Maggie just grinned and waved her off. Nick's townhouse had the scent of pine candles, but it also smelled like trouble. Whiskey was being passed around, as rideshare cars were called. Maggie tossed back a shot that blurred every red flag. By midnight, she stepped out onto the balcony for a cigarette. As she flipped the lighter, she saw Nick step out beside her. When she crushed the cigarette out, Nick tilted her chin and kissed her. Her heart raced. They stumbled into the bedroom, and in the dark Maggie realized there was someone else in the bed. Evan's hands wrapped around her waist from behind. If she had been sober, she would have run. But she wasn't. The next morning, sunlight and dread hit her at the same time. She woke up wedged between two snoring men. Clothes were scattered on the floor, and the door was wide open. She had no cash, no dignity, but she ran. At home, Alex stood in the living room, his jaw clenched. She had promised she'd be back by midnight. It was 6 a.m. now. Her mascara had streaked down to her jawline. Without saying a word, she bolted for the shower, scrubbing herself raw until the water ran lukewarm. Hours later, she sat on the bathroom floor, hugging her knees tightly, wishing she had listened to Dana. Guilt clouded the next week, and at work the fluorescent lights felt like interrogation lamps. Dana barely looked up from her desk. Nick and Evan just nodded at her, which somehow hurt even more. Maggie's nerves finally snapped, and one quiet Sunday she confessed everything to Alex. Tears soaked her sleeves before she even reached the worst part. Alex sat in silence. When the room grew quiet, he finally spoke. "I saw it in your eyes that morning." Her sob caught in her throat. "I've been wondering if I can ever forgive myself. I want to try." She fell to her knees, clutching his hands, her thank yous tumbling out. Alex sighed deeply. "Give me time." Time, however, felt like a maze. He tried, and Maggie could see him trying, but the memory of what happened wouldn't fade. 2 years later, when she tentatively mentioned starting a family, Alex's eyes answered before his mouth could. The divorce papers arrived quietly. The emotions, however, were anything but. Alex only asked that she leave her job. Too many memories haunted the office, and Maggie agreed without hesitation. She moved back in with her mother, since her new job barely paid enough for gas. Late shifts, peeling linoleum floors, and the echoes of what-ifs kept her awake. She told people that one reckless night had cost her everything. But what she never shared was that sometimes she still remembered a kiss on the balcony and couldn't decide whether shame or longing burned more fiercely. Then she wiped away the tears, punched in for another shift, and prayed that tomorrow she'd finally be able to forget.